All right, everybody. Welcome back to Strong Principles. My name is Larry Medina.
I'm Rob Delacruz.
And I'm Pete Miller.
Today we're going to talk about programming.
Yep,
right?
we're going to get into more programming because we just got done talking about it, so it's kind of fresh on it. So we're going to get into, are you wasting your time with the programming you're doing? What's the most effective style of programming? And so when we're talking about it, it's a concurrent training programming. You're doing conditioning and strength together.
Yeah, and in the previous episode, we talked about like intensity doesn't always equal the best kind of programming, right? So this is to talk through some of this.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of research that's come out in like the last couple of years, to be honest with you, and one was really recent, and I'm just diving in. So there's 3 forms of programming, okay? You're looking at doing strength and conditioning together in the same session, or conditioning and strength in the same session. They're the same. Basically, it works out to the same. So those are there. Then you have the classic concurrent training where I mostly program is one day is strength, one day is conditioning, one day is strength, one day is conditioning. And it kind of like goes through the weeks like that. It's going back and forth and different condition, different type of training. And then the other one is 1 week of strength, 1 week of conditioning. So you like every other. So which one you think is the most effective?
I would say, so if I had to guess, it just depends on the type of conditioning, right? So if you're doing like crazy intense conditioning the whole week, not good for you. But if you could do like maybe like zones, right? So zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, depending on where you're at throughout the week, I could see that being very beneficial where you're doing like a whole bunch of strength and then cardio. But then I feel like you're missing out on a week of weight training. So in my head, I'm going to go with weight training and conditioning in the
separated
same
by days.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the way. It's a classic concurrent training program. So you're concurrently training different energy systems and everything. That's how I program. Super classic. All in the research. It's been out there a long time. People have seen real good results. No, but
got me too. I failed that test.
Yes. The worst is strength and conditioning together. That's the worst. In classic, a lot of CrossFits do that, which they can't figure it out. I don't know what to do with them.
That's why they're going out of business.
Yeah. And a lot of franchise models kind of do something real similar. So let's go ahead and just put out there, something is better than nothing. And if you have like 2 days a week, then maybe like doing that together is, but ideally, no. You have a major interference effect when you put strength and conditioning together or conditioning and strength, okay? To a certain extent, you got to separate it. The best is 1 week of strength, 1 week of conditioning. Yes. Now, I'll go into a couple of reasons why, because it kind of caught me off guard a little bit too. So a while ago, there was a research, and it was all pure strength training. And it was 5 days a week, strength training, and then and that was 12 weeks. And the other one was 5 days a week with 1 week off.
Now, is this for like general population?
Yes.
Okay.
General population. Yeah. And you got to remember with this research, there's a lot of athletes and kids and college kids and stuff involved in it. But this is what we're seeing generally from their adaptations. So it was 12 weeks straight through 5 days a week strength training. And then it was the same thing, 12 weeks, but it was 5 days a week, 1 week off, 5 days a week, 1 week off every other. They both ended up in the same place. So what it did was show us that you don't detrain in a week. So it didn't matter if you went straight through or you took a week off, you ended up in the exact same place. That kind of blew me away a little bit, but it makes sense. So what the concurrent training system we're talking about, 1 strength, 1 endurance week, you stay in that same energy system the entire time. You don't detrain, you actually get rest because now you're working in a different system conditioning. Now there's certain ways to do it. And you brought this up. You were kind of like almost you almost caught it.
You were close. I thought you were going to get it.
You can't do like a week of strength and then all of a sudden it's like zone 2 all week long or super high intensity all week long every time. It's got to be like a blend. And also you want to remember if you got your strength week, now you're going to your conditioning week. One of them is going to be a zone 2. One of them is going to be a little more high intensity. One of them is going to be more of a mixed modality based with strength movements mixed in her, but done in a conditioning way. So you got to remember, like, that is going to be an effective conditioning week because it does have a little bit of blend and it does cross over. So you really have to understand to be able to program it properly is what conditioning or aerobic workouts kind of gear a little bit towards strength, because you definitely could take away from it if you did that and didn't do any strength for the week.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm in the middle of just still trying to figure it out, but that's what came out and how it was quite a bit ahead.
So what does that strength training look like, right? Because like I'm trying to think through. Like I feel like if you have a whole week off, you have a whole week to recover, which means you can go pretty intense on the like not, I don't want to say max out like 2-3 times a week, right?
It doesn't need to be any more intense than which like normal strength training is.
Okay.
And remember what I said about the other research that came out a while ago. 1 week, 5 days a week of like just straight regular strength training progressively. 5 days a week of straight progressively or strength training with 1 week off, 1 week on. So same place.
So I do feel like this is where like programming comes into play, like heavily, because like, so for a lot, I would say 90% of the population that don't do specific workouts, when people hear cardio, they're thinking, I got to go for a run, right?
Yep.
And that's it. And so I'm assuming it means almost like a Metcon type of conditioning.
So the way I would describe it, because when Rob gave me this test, I failed it terribly. Like, when you started answering, I was like, oh, shucks, Larry got it. And then you ended up saying the same thing I did. So
second guess yourself, Larry.
Yep, you were on it. I thought you had it. I was cheering for you.
Yeah.
You ended up failing like me.
Yeah.
But when Rob described it to me, I was like, my mind was blown. Now it makes sense. But if we look at weightlifting, right, we have like upper body, lower body. But if you look at conditioning, it's the same, because you have zone 2, you have sprinting, you have mixed modality. So you can program the conditioning week just like you program a weightlifting week and get better results because you get more rest. And to me, when I broke it down, I was looking at numbers. I'm a nerd. I want to see the numbers. And if you look at the way that we program now, 3 and 3, over the course of a month, you get 12 of each. If you look at the week, you're getting 5 and 5, 10 throughout the month. So it's only 2 less sessions with a ton more rest.
And Larry, so you're right, but something is better than nothing. But things that are laid out with intent are much more effective. And so, yeah, you can go for a run, and will that work? Like, yeah, to a certain extent, but is it going to be more effective than having like properly laid out, like one anaerobic day, an aerobic day, a mixed day, like smart laid out conditioning? So think about like you went for a 40-minute jog, or you went and you ran an 800 with 3-minute rest at a 5 RPE. One is going to be really effective. The other one is kind of going. The other one works, but it's not as effective.
Right. No, that makes sense.
And it's the same thing with strength training. Like properly laid out strength training that's progressed is going to be much more effective than just randomly like just doing things. Randomly doing things kind of works for a while, but it's not going to be nowhere as effective. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because I do feel like a lot of people don't realize like the output that you have to do, right? So like if you want to run like a good 5K, right? If you have like if maybe the 5K is not right, but maybe the marathon, right? If you want to run a marathon, obviously you got to train for the marathon, whatever. But essentially, like whatever you can do for like the 5K, typically you should be able to carry that over for most of the marathon.
Yeah.
Right?
But to a certain extent. So like, let's go back to the 5K because that was good. Okay, you got a 5K race coming up. So you can just kind of run and like do 5Ks till you get there. Or we can run like 1Ks at a faster race pace with like a 4-minute rest. And like you're accumulating 5K, but at faster paces. Or you can run shorter amount of time, like 500s. You know, there's so many different ways to program to accumulate better quality. So what you're doing is you're trying to accumulate better quality work. And that makes it more effective in everything from conditioning to strength.
Without breaking yourself down.
Correct.
Yeah, without all those miles.
Yeah,
right.
But that's where rest comes in. That's where like interval-based, rest-based things come in.
Okay. No, that makes sense. That's interesting though, like breaking it up that way. I actually feel like in that scenario, for the people that want intensity more often, what does that do to that dynamic, right? Because like two things, you get 5 days of it in a row, and then you get a break from it. But if I catch on to it, and I'm only a Metcon guy, right? Like that, you'd have to fight that sort of.
Well, there's a mindset, and it's an education. So that's like, we run into that all the time. If I get people from CrossFit or some whatever fitness / boot camp, it's changing their mindset and kind of like showing them and educating them like, hey, this is why. There's nothing wrong with it once in a while or once a week or twice a week, but this is why it's not effective all the time.
So let me ask you a separate question for both of you guys. It may be easier for like what you do, Pete, because like if you're a police officer, you can see why training is important, right? Because like you could die like
every day,
every day, and so you could die if you don't do the right things, or if you're in worse shape than the other guy, right? But for like the general population, people, like as far as like the mindset, like I've heard somebody be like, I don't want to work out because like I don't want to be athletic. I don't care to be athletic. So how do you overcome that?
Yeah, I think we're in a place now that we know everybody has to do something. I think it's kind of like it's known now. You don't have to, but if you want to be able to live like a good, prosperous life and have some longevity, you got to do something. And strength is the base. And so when you're talking to people, because you do run into it, they just don't like to work out. So when it comes to that, is like you got to find some kind of activity that they do like. And it could not be doing weights, but you want to find something that is going to be targeted what they're looking for. It's like, oh, I want to pick up my kids, or I want to like be able to do this, or I got to go outside and do yard work. And then you kind of, that's the goal. This is the best approach. Now there's other approaches, but you might be doing way more of them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay.
And
appreciate that.
Yes, you battle the misconceptions that people have before they come in. So what I would always tell people is give it 2 or 3 months, see if you like it, if you don't, what your results are. But I know they're going to see that what they thought they were going to be is not the result they're going to get. And after 3 months, they're more likely going to stick with it because they didn't get too bulky or too athletic. They just got more healthy and able to pick up their kids and have a better quality of life, and they stick with it.
Yeah, I saw a post of somebody saying like, seeing my 70-year-old dad playing with my kids on the floor makes me realize why it was important to work out. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it. That's the reason why you want to keep moving. Because I'll tell you this, right? Like I'm a desk jockey. I've said many times. I sit at my desk all day. And so, and there's lulls where like I just get too lazy and I don't do anything, right? Like, so I don't work out, don't do anything, whatever. And during those times, like I'll tell you, like my lower back hurts, my ankles get stiff, my hips get stiff. I can't even like it's awful. And so then aches and pains start happening. But the moment I start working out and start moving, all that goes away. Yeah. It's not the weirdest thing, right? Because like really it's just like almost like hypertrophy, right? It's so the way that it goes in my simple little brain.
The body adapts to stressors. So you don't stress it, for lack of a better word, it kind of like decays and becomes decrepit. So I stole this from Mark Bell, but he always has something good. He says it's strength is never a weakness. The weakness is never a strength. And so nobody should ever say they don't want to be athletic. Now, you don't need to put endless amounts of time to try to be a power lifter or endless amounts of time to try to be like some high level athletic football. But there's little things you can do to make you more athletic and stronger for like every day.
Yeah, like picking up the dog food, right?
Yeah.
Something as stupid as that. Or like I get water and I refill my 5-gallon jug. And to this day, I can still put it over my shoulder, walk straight to my car. It's not heavy. It feels good. But it's funny, like on my way each time, and I'm not doing it to show off. I just do it because I don't want to walk to the carts, get a cart, load it. It's just easier for me to grab it and take it to my truck. People will always be like, wow, and I'm thinking like, it's really not that hard, but
But it shows you the rest of what society and everything else, where they're at.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I've always thought of, and I've heard Rob say it, strength training is the fountain of youth. So like you said, when you're seated and your back hurts and your feet hurt, the strength training counteracts that and kind of brings you back to normal. If you didn't, you would just continue down decrepency.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And to bring it back is like this proper programming in strength and conditioning. It's just more effective. It gets you to the place quicker, more sustainable approach, because you take all that together and then you tend not to be like wasting much of your time.
Yeah. So I think the point is this whole conversation is obviously to get out, move, but also it's cool. It's okay to evolve, right? So if you're stuck and you're doing a workout and you're constantly hurt, you may want to evolve from that.
Yes.
Right. Like you may want to take a step back, take inventory of what the hell you've been doing, right? What has worked, what hurts, what are some accessory work that you can do? And to your point, as you're always researching, Rob, right? You're doing workouts and it works very well. Can it be better? Right?
Yeah.
We're always tweaking.
Always
right?
evolving. Always evolving. If you have questions or you don't understand, seek out a professional. Someone that you kind of like been following or looking at, someone that other people have like vouched for. So referrals are the best thing. And then come in and see them, even if it's just to kind of like take a look at you. Come see us at Vero Strength.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about Vero Strength and what Rob and Wendy do is, having been in the fitness industry for so long, you see so many people that are dogmatic. CrossFit does CrossFit, weightlifting does this. Rob and Wendy are only tethered to fitness. If they were to come out with a study that said rollerblading is the best fitness, I guarantee Rob would have rollerblades in the WOD on Tuesday. Because he's tethered to only fitness and that's all he cares about. And that's why when he said this new program of weightlifting one week and conditioning the other, I know we're going to see that at some point because he's a mad scientist. He's going to figure it out and it's going to be detrimental to his gym and his members. And that's what I love about this place.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it. I haven't figured it out yet.
You will. Don't worry.
Awesome. All right.
All right. That's the end. Strong Principles. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.